use my affiliate link to support the channel down in the description. Hey, what's up guys, it's MyGamesGX here, and we are going to be doing a video on Lightsworn Tearlaments deck profile. So you guys know that I started the redo of this channel basically with a Tearlaments deck profile, and we are back with the deck. However, it's with Lightsworn, which is my favorite deck from years past. So I think that there are multiple different kinds of Lightsworn variants going on right now in the meta with the new support that just came out. And between the Dragon Link 60 card piles and the Lightsworn Tearlament build, and even the pure Tearlament build, or the pure Lightsworn and the pure Tearlament build, I prefer the Lightsworn Tearlament build, so we're going to make a deck profile on the build. I've been labbing for the last month. Shout out to Raul for helping with this deck profile. I really did lab this out pretty nicely, and I feel like the ratios are quite correct. If you want to be playing Lightsworn with Tearlament, because there's a huge factor with Lightsworn plus Tearlament, and that you need to minimize on the bricks that you're going to see, because Lightsworn cards add a lot of explosiveness to the Tearlament engine. However, you have to be able to deck build correctly with the amount of bricks you're putting in order to have a deck that works going first and going second against Snake Eyes, some of the best decks that we've ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is going to be a 44 card build. This could very easily go down to 43. If you want to make some adjustments, we'll talk about it when we get into the video. I just think that 43 allows me to have all the options that I need while having as much consistency as possible with my mills and just being able to open broken cards. Now, if you guys want to see a combo guide for this video, make sure to leave a like. If this video gets over 100 likes, I will do a combo / test hand video for an hour on Lightsworn Tearlament. We'll go over all the steps on how to play the deck. It is kind of confusing, however, it is one of the most fun decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, so I highly recommend it. So with that being said, make sure to check out all the links down below, TCG Player affiliate link and my Whatnot affiliate link, and also join the channel to become a member today to help support the channel. Let's get right into it. All right, so we are going to get into the main deck. Of course, like I said, 44 cards. We're going to get into the main aspect of the deck. It is a Lightsworn deck at heart. So we do have 3 QCR Lightsworn Dragonlings. Now, this card is the best new Lightsworn card by far. I remember when I first read it, I was like, wow, this card is everything Lightsworn has ever needed. And it's really proven that itself to be the best card in the new Lightsworn support package. This card is able to special summon itself as long as you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, kind of like Cartesia and Branded. However, you get to Foolish Burial a Lightsworn card, even Aegis or any other Lightsworn card, and you are going to be able to special summon. So this card can even dump something like Lightsworn Aegis, which is a really good going first card, but most of the time you're going to be using this as a 1-card combo in order to get into the new Synchro Minerva, which can basically mill out your whole deck. It's very good. It also helps you play through hand traps very easily, because you can usually start your combo with other things and then just end on this once your opponent has hand trapped you, so you're able to actually get the Minerva off, because this card facilitates your best plays in the deck. It's your best playmaker. It's the best card in the deck, so you run it at 3. Also, it has a mill effect to search a dragon with 3026, so we do run the Punishment Dragon alongside it. This is very optional. This is the 44th card, frankly. This could be cut. However, I chose to run this because I think having a higher dark count is very important sometimes. So having the +1 off the Dragonling is very nice in the deck where you're trying to discard a lot. So I think that Punishment Dragon, as well as being a very powerful shuffler and being a level 8 extender, warrants its place in the deck alongside Dragonling, but this is something that you could opt not to run as well. I think that between this and Judgment Dragon, this is way better than Judgment Dragon. Judgment Dragon is very good. I love that card. You guys know I love that card. However, it's more of a board breaker, and this card can go first or second, so also it's very much a dark, being a dark attribute synergizes with the Tearlaments cards way better, since you need dark attributes in order to fuse with the Tearlaments names. So yeah, I think these guys are pretty standard. You see some people running a JD as well for the Enlightenment Dragon. I don't think Enlightenment Dragon is needed or very good, to be honest. I wish it was a little bit better, to be honest, sadly. So for the rest of the Lightsworn cards, we are running 2 Weiss, 2 Wolf, and 1 Fearless, and 1 Raiden. So yes, this is a new, different bit of ratio that we're trying out with the Lightsworn cards, because Weiss I originally thought was a 3 of, and upon testing, it is a very good card, but sometimes you'll just brick on it when you're running 3, so I think running it at 2 really allows you to have a better going second, frankly. Weiss is one of the best new cards because you get to stack a Lightsword name and then mill 2, and it's a tuner, and it is a level 4, and it gets to spec itself, so it does a lot. And then also when sent to the graveyard from the deck, you can basically target a Lightsword and revive it, so it's very good at comboing with the Synchro Minerva with Dragonling. So I think that it well warrants itself at 2. However, I don't think you need it at 3. And I think that a lot of builds have been tunnel visioning on 3 of this. I don't think you need to do that. I think Wolf is very good at 2, but the 3rd really never comes up. I think that to keep the deck count at a 43 card, around 43 card kind of thing, so you're keeping your consistency, you're seeing your power cards, and you're not bricking, you're not getting bad mills, I think you have to make some sacrifices. And honestly, like I said, this build is all about minimizing on the bricks in the beginning of the video, so I think that running 1 Fearless, 2 Wolf really does encapsulate that. The 1 Fearless is just fine. You're always going to send it off at the Dragonling. If you mill it already, but you do run the shufflers in order to summon it back, but you do have the Raiden as well, so you can always use Weiss. Weiss is always there in order to get back your tuner. You're never really missing out on a tuner, honestly. These are all you need for your tuners, in my opinion. I think that running more gets to a bricking territory. Raiden is very good one of. It's actually, I think especially since you're running the Punishment Dragon, just to have that extra name really does help with the Raiden. I think this could be Raiden or Garoth. I think Garoth is pretty okay, but I think this card's a lot more proactive. Its mill 2 can go very good. It can really just start your whole engine, and it's also a decent normal summon. I've debated on running it more than 2 or more than 1, frankly, but I know a lot of people don't even run it. I love Raiden. I think Raiden's great, honestly. It's nice to spec off a Weiss, honestly, very much so. So these are the nice ratios. You know, I think in a perfect world, I'd be able to run 3-3-2. That's kind of like the ratio I was running, 3-3-2. But I think that this allows you to run a deck that's competent, that can actually go second and play very well going first as well. So it's kind of like a Lightsworn engine. You know, it's kind of a lightweight Lightsworn engine, but I think this works very well. I'm not missing any other Lightsworn names. Lumina is unnecessary. Dark Lumina is really unnecessary. They're just kind of bricks. So if you guys have any questions though on the names I'm not running, please let me know. I'll answer them down below. So we are running Tearlaments Lightsworn. So I think that the Tearlaments engine really bridges extraordinarily well into the Sworn engine, because Minerva and Visas Amritara, both of the boss monsters of the deck, basically are combo pieces with each other in both level 8s. So the engines bridge very perfectly into each other, and then also have a lot of synergy with a lot of level 4s, and the Dark and Light synergy is very nice as well. So we're running 3 Rhinoheart. I think Rhinoheart is the best playmaker in the deck. It's the best normal summon. It's the only normal summon besides Raiden. So I think that running 3 is very much mandatory. I think running 2 can be nice sometimes, but like running barely any normal summons, so you gotta be running 2, and then also you're running the Scream. So you need to be able to see Tearlaments names. So I think that also normal summon Rhinoheart in this build goes extraordinarily hard, because by the time you bridge into the Rhinoheart, sometimes you'll start Rhinoheart, but most of the time you'll go Lightsworn combo into Tearlament combo, and then Rhinoheart's extraordinarily live. The normal summon is a 1 card, whatever you want at that point. On Shiren, 1 Merlin, 1 Havness, you have to run them. They're the best names. And then 3 Tier Cash. So pretty standard. You got to run these names. I think it's just the Rhinoheart at 2 has been kind of standard, but I think I prefer this kind of build, frankly. I think this is 3 is very good. I've talked to a lot of names who play Tearlaments. You want to max out in the name of Rhinoheart. Plus we're running Hamet and Totally Awesome, so I think that this really lends itself. We are not running actually let's cover the rest of the tier engine here. Why not? For the rest of the tier engine, we have 3 Pearl of Rhino, 2 Scream, 1 Triv Karma, and 2 Soliak. So yeah, very standard too. I've actually debated on ratios where I don't run Triv Karma, where I don't run Soliak, where at 2, where I don't run Scream at 2, where I run 1 and 1. I think overall at this 43 to 44 card build, I think that they're very good. And with the 3 Rhinoheart, I think it just makes sense. It just gives you an amazing grind game, and then also allows you to set up a board like Rhino, Soliak plus Baguska and Kaleido Heart. So you're basically unkillable at that point on top of like Caspian and Appaloosa. It's very good. That's why you run the Lightsworn, the Tearlaments engine, because you can get the best end board in the game, frankly. That's why Gimmick Puppet, frankly. But no, it's very good, very consistent in what it does. And it's very explosive. It has a higher ceiling than regular Tearlaments, in my opinion. And the Tearlaments engine gives the Lightsworn cards a nice little boost. But sometimes they don't work always together. Like, it really sucks when you draw Soliak and Scream with like no names. Can happen, and that can be frustrating, I will not lie, but I think this kind of build really minimizes on it when you're running like 42, 43, 44 cards. So I think this is just fine. And the one Terrific Karma is fine. You just need like decent mill, and also like you can search it off of Amritara and set it as an interruption with Amritara on the field because it's considered a Visos. Also, when you have Amritara on the field, you can turn on Scream. So opening Scream isn't the worst if you can just take an Amritara basically and then turn on Scream, and then you can go into the, because like most of the time you can just go Amritara before Nerva, the Synchro, and then you can bridge into the Lightsworn package and just do it the other way, so it's just fine in that respect. Then the non-engine, for the rest of the non-engine, I'm running one Shuffler. This should be a Mudora, but I just love my nameless Keldo, so this is why I'm running this. Shout out to Pack, who has a playset of all these. I need to try find him or someone else who has a nameless Mudora, so I could just run this inside the other. I would run two Shufflers. I'm just running the Punishment Dragon, so I don't think you need two Shufflers plus Punishment Dragon. I think you could just do 1 and 1 because Punishment Dragon is a pseudo Shuffler. So yeah, and then we are also, for other packages, we are also running the Horus engine, of course. I guess this is a tier Horus Lightsworn deck. I just think that the Horus cards are way too good not to run. I think Zombie Vampire being a rank 8 is way too good alongside the Synchro Minerva and Amritara, which are both level 8s. So it just makes it so that your level 8 package is very fine when you're running the King Sark package, and whenever you see these cards, you are just chilling going first. You are playing through most hand traps, so I think that seeing these cards are mandatory, and that's why we King Sark at 3. You don't want to run like Dwamatef or anything like that. These are the best names. I think Imseti is just so good, and then the One Happy helps you spin back cards, but it's also just like decent for just having an onboard pressure piece, because you could just end on Imseti plus Happy plus your onboard. A lot of the time this deck you can go all in, but a lot of the time you don't need to. You can kind of save a lot of your gas. That's not like Branded where your grind game is guaranteed kind of thing. So like, you need to be able to know when to stop when you're going first, because you have enough, because a lot of the time you're going first board, especially like play through a lot of hand traps, like you're going to be able to play through whatever they're going to be able to do, and you don't need to keep extending. And I think that these guys really do help as an unboard and an extender with your rank 8. So yeah, I think this is mandatory in my opinion. I know I've seen some builds not run the Horus build. I think they've opted for Bestials or just a bigger Lightsworn pool. I think that the Horus cards just give you a lot, because King Sark allows you to have a nice battle phase just interaction to get around certain effects that, you know, to be able to because that's why I love Tearlaments and Lightsworn in particular, because you have a lot of removal options, and this just expands on that. So you can basically just like simplify game states with your Horus cards when you have your board broken, which I think is very good in this deck, because you don't have the best grind game in the world. So having King Sark just in your pocket to be able to recover is very important when you have the Shufflers, when you have Punishment Dragon to just recur your grind game. That's why I also love Punishment Dragon, because that allows you to be able to have it shuffles back all the cards. So like basically go back to square one. Like, it's very good. I think that's very incorrect not to run. It sucks when you draw the Punishment Dragon, but it's so nice otherwise, I'm not gonna lie. Such a powerful card. Alright, so for the rest of the cards, Lightsworn cards. Charge of the Light Brigade. Shout out to the Euro print QCRs. So I love this card. This is one of my favorite cards across time. It's mill 3 for cost, but since it's mill 3 for cost, it can't get ashed. So you can start, a lot of the time you can just lead your turn with this. It'll get ashed, but it's okay. You milled a Lightsworn or something, or a Shuffler, or a piece of the puzzle, a Terrific Karma, and you can continue to play. So you set up your Dragonling. It's very good for that reason. You need to run at 3. Even if you mill a Tearlaments name, it's just fine. You can just fuse off that Tearlaments name when you mill another one into a Garura. It's just fine. 3 is mandatory. We're not running Solar Recharge. I was running Solar Recharge. I think Solar Recharge is very good in this deck. I think a lot of people undercut that card, but I just think I wanted to go for consistency over everything else, and it was either run a 50 card build or run 43, 44 with no Solar. I think this is probably a lot better. So because we're running a lot less bricks, so yeah, I think this is just fine. And then for the generics, we got Foolish Burial of Goods, and we have a Blackout Laughs. So we'll talk about Blackout Laughs last. Foolish Burial is just a very good generic piece. I think when you're not running Foolish Burial in like a tier or a Lightsworn deck, it really limits your options because you can't just send Rhino Heart when you have a Solic in hand, which is like a common occurrence with this deck. So I think that just having this here is very broken. It just allows for one of the most busted plays from Tearlaments format. And then Foolish Burial of Goods is very good because it's a board breaker with Blackout Laughs, but then it also allows you to set up things with like Karma and then also Solic or Scream. So you can basically just set up whatever you want. Then also you could send Aegis from your side deck. You could also main Aegis over the Blackout. I just think that Blackout's really good because Blackout you can use going second. You can pitch it for Droplet. You can pitch it for King Sark, and then you can call Appaloosa. You can call whatever problem card on the Skull Guardian. And this basically will get over that matchup, and it's very good. It's mainly there for going second, frankly, but it's like a good piece to mill, so that's why I think it very much justifies its spot because it's a lot of the time free since you're just milling it or just pitching it. So I think this card's really invaluable, and I've debated on running 2 or 3 of it, frankly. I just think that the 1's fine for right now, but without Beatrice, I kind of want to debate on running more than this. This card's very good. It overperforms whenever I see it. Foolish Burial at 1, I think, just so it doesn't brick, and then I just think these are way too good cards. And then for the last 3 Forbidden Droplet, it was basically between Super Poly, Forbidden Droplet, or, of course, Triple Tactics Talents because we are running the Horus package. I think Talents is very good when you run the Horus package because you're guaranteed to get ashed on the Horus package, so you basically can guarantee that, or even on the Charge of the Light Brigade, but so it's basically always going to be live, but I think Droplet just gives you an amazing going second because it interacts really well with your deck. You can go Droplet on basically your Dragon Link to dodge Imperm, or even more importantly, your Athena. It's very good for that reason. You have like things like Scream, you have King Sark, you have Pearl of Rhino, so this card doesn't take a lot of value up on your field. You don't have to discard much. You can use card pieces on your board that you've already used up kind of thing. So I think Droplet's very warranted in this deck. I think it's better than Talents. I think if you want to have a good going second, I think Droplet's the best going second card right now in the game. There's a reason why every deck is maining it right now. So it just gets over Appo, it gets over Skull Guardian, it gets over Sanctifier, it gets over all these problem cards that are in the meta right now. And it also helps you OTK, so it is a quick play, so it's a set going first. Very good. That's why shout out to Raul for getting me on this because I was on Talents, but I think he very much argued very soundly that this card's very better than Talents in this deck just because of its interaction with your deck. It's very free in this deck. So let's get into the extra deck now. What I love about the Tearlament, Lightsworn deck is that the extra deck, if you look at this, it's very diverse. You have synchros, you have fusions, you have Xyz, and you have links. So it's one of the most fun decks to play in my opinion because you really go through everything. You get to play every part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Except for pendulums, but pendulums aren't real, right guys? Visas Amritara, and then 1 Minerva. Shout out to my QCR Europrint Minerva. This thing's beautiful. Probably one of my favorite cards I own. By far, one of my nicest indie pickups, and alongside the QCR Dragonlings. So I need to get QCR Visas, honestly. So these cards are just like brother and sister, essentially, because you'll go into one, and then you'll go into the other, and then you'll rank them up for Zombie Vampire a lot of the time. Unless you have the Horus Engine, or if you already have Horus Engine, you start that way, then you can just make a Herald or another rank it. So that's what they're kind of there for, but they're the best. They are extenders, and all your monsters are level 4 and level 4 tuners, so these cards essentially are extremely easy to be made. Now, I think that a lot of the time, this thing, when they see you're on Tearlaments, the moment they see you're on Lightsworn, because a lot of the time you can just like fade them and be like, oh, you're on Tearlament, so they're gonna hit your tier stuff, and then you can go into the Lightsworn stuff and bait them. But Minerva is a huge imperm bait. It will always imperm this thing. If they see you're on Lightsworn, they will just save it for this. So you want to be able to set up a board where this thing getting impermed isn't going to lose you the game. So a lot of the time, if you don't want to rush this thing and you have other gas, you won't. unless you have like much other gas. If you get impermed, it doesn't matter, but I think that a lot of the time this thing's just such a good card because it also banishes for cost. So because it banishes for cost, you sub Punishment Dragon for free, which is really good through imperm because you're still searching it off of the Dragon Link going to the graveyard. You can still make a rank 8 even if this thing gets impermed, which is why I like running the Punishment Dragon. Isis Amritar is very good too because the destroy effect comes up once every million games to basically fuse, but otherwise it's a very good extender to get a Pearl Rhino, to get a Scream, to get a Solic. I think that Visas being able to extend into your best cards, like reason you run Tearlaments is because Pearl Rhino is the best field spell ever printed. Like, it is a quick play, basically pop on either turn, once per turn. It also gives all your monsters 500 attack, which is extraordinarily relevant. All your monsters become pseudo towers essentially, and then also you have interruption on top of your shufflers, so you're always able to pop a card on your opponent's side of the field on top of Kaleido Heart, so you're always having a pop 2 or a pop 1 and a spin. So I think Visas very much warrants itself and is why you run the Tearlaments in this deck, because you can bridge into him through the Lightsworn cards and then get into your Tearlament stuff, or you can bridge it to him and bridge into the Minerva through your Tearlaments cards, and they're both very strong engines, so that's why you run this. So your fusions, 1 Kaleido Heart, 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Stapelia, and then 1 Garura. So I was debating on running Beast King the Swamp. That is something I've debated on running in this build. However, I just, with like Lucalos, I think that's okay. I just think that Beast King is a bit of a brick and takes up a slot that could be more useful. I know we aren't running more Aquas for Garura, but I think this is just fine because you can just make it with a name. It is kind of cuttable, honestly, but it's there because sometimes it's just your only option to fuse, so I think that you kind of have to run it. And then Stapelia is very good, my opinion, because you usually go through the Garura or the Mud Dragon, and then it's basically free, and then you'll make it on your turn or your opponent's turn. Then Kaleido Heart's a very good end board piece, comboing with Solic in order to basically provide graveyard interaction under Baguska, so your opponent really can't do anything about it. And then also being able to break a board with this card, and Pearl Rhino is very good going second. That's your ad lib basically in this deck. And then Mud Dragon is very good because it's a water inherently, so you can make totally awesome with Rhino Heart a lot of the time is what this will be used for, but it's also nice for just being rank 4 bait, and then also you can change to light or dark to dodge imperm, which is very relevant. And if you can make it, you should before you go into Minerva. So here are the Xyzes. We'll go with the rank 2, totally awesome alongside the Bahamut Shark. I think this is debate. I've tested with or without this. I just think it's like really free because the best combo in the deck facilitates a Bahamut totally awesome plus Lido, Solic, and they're like Baguska, and it's very good. So you should definitely be running this. It's an Omni Negate. Also gets back an interruption piece, so you can recur back a Haveness, or recur back a Tear Cache with totally awesome, and then set one of your opponent's cards. It's so good when you just set like Talents or like Imperm or something that you can use on your opponent's next turn, because if you get into a grind game, very good. And then Bahamut Shark just usually gets linked off. And then the other rank 4, we're running Baguska. I think this card's broken. I think this card is one of the best rank 4s in the game, and Tearlaments has been facilitating this on top of SP Little Knight for a minute. Best board right now. One of the best boards that Tearlaments can make right now that not a lot of people really realize is like SP Baguska plus Liliac. And this deck can make that board alarmingly easily. So you'll have this on top of obviously Pearl Rhino at that point. So it's like, if you imagine this kind of board, this is what normal Tearlaments makes. But the thing is, if you're playing the Lightsworn build, a lot of the time what it becomes is you can get the totally awesome on top of that, and then either like Stapelia, and then you will have something like an Appaloosa on top of this, which is, in my opinion, a lot better. So that's why I like the Tearlament stuff, because with the Lightsworn stuff, because it all goes together a bit more. But I think Baguska is very good because what happens is, like, you can use Baguska under SP Little Knight, which is very good, and Appaloosa, so you can basically always make like board of this on top of like Kaleido Heart with Solic. So It's very free. You can still interact under your own Baguska. It's one of the best end boards that not anything can really out. Like, guys can't out that. Obviously, you can make Baguska too. Baguska is like mandatory because if you get hand trapped like 2 or 3 times, Baguska is going to be like your things that you can make to basically play through it, because they'll be on like 2 or 3 cards and they aren't playing through a Baguska at that point. So yeah, plus like anything else. And then for the last 6 is Zombie Vampire, and number 38, Harbinger. I'm just trying out Hope Harbinger because it's QCR right now, but it's a good card, you know. Also, and it has a battle phase effect, which is very cool. Actually, it's kind of like Zelantis almost, so it helps protect your monsters almost, which can be relevant for lighting up Appaloosa, so that's why I do like that over number 38. I think that you can... Nib's not really an issue for this deck, but you can run you can run the Photon Lord over this, I will say that, so very much debate on running that. And then for the last 4 extra deck cards, we have the Lynx, SP Little Knight, Dark, Sprite Sprint, and Appaloosa for our only link 4. So our link 2s, SP Little Knight, it's the best link in the game, you gotta run it. This deck poops this card out. Dark is very good because it helps you link into Sprite Sprint, into Knight or Appaloosa very easily, and helps you go second by grabbing a piece. A lot of dark cards in the graveyard right now. It just really helps you going second. It's also helps you float into like Tearlaments' name. It's not bad at all. I think it's just super high value for what it's worth, but I think it's the most cuttable one out of this extra deck, to be honest. And then Sprite Sprint's very good because you make a lot of Exceeds, so it's a end board piece, and also helps you get your last fusion, so you always like save Merly. You'll try to sequence it so Merly's last, and you can use like Appo plus Sprine, and then hopefully you have like, you can also have this sometimes. It's not always often because that's a lot of resources, but obviously you want to have Appo up top so you can be making these guys afterwards. And then Appo's like the best card in the game right now, so we're gonna use it until it gets banned. Look at this platinum rare, that's so pretty. Better than the QCR, honestly. But no, I think Appo, this deck poops out Appo even more harder than SP Lone Knight. A lot of the time you'll have like 5 monsters on board, and you'll just have to link using 4 monsters into a 3200 Appaloosa. That happens a lot with this deck just because you'll have to clog your board. I think running the 2 Wolf and 1 Fearless helps that situation not happen as much, but like you'll just have that happen. If this deck, if you start milling, you basically win. So Appo is very good. You have to run it. It is one of your best end board pieces. Like, you can have this on top of a Baguska plus Clay to Heart, Portal Rhino, and Soliak. You win the game. So, yep, we run it. Rest in peace, Baron. Like, this deck would make Baron so much easier. So easy now, but you know, it is what it is. I think that Rulikalos, like I said, is something that you guys could consider running with Beast King, because I do miss Rulikalos, and then also the Photon Lord. So for the extra deck, we have 1 Aegis. I think Aegis is very good. This could be a Tearlaments Crime, though, so this should probably be your Tearlaments Crime. But a lot of the time with this deck, I notice you don't end on a monster in hand, so I think Aegis is overall a better card. So just make sure to end on a Lightsworn, basically. It's not bad. And then basically this is a out to Forbidden Droplet. It's a out to Dark Ruler. It's an out to Evenly. You need to run this going first. And then, but it's kind of a brick, so that's why we don't run it going second. Or why we don't run in the main deck. 1 Magnum at 1 Druid Swarm. I think that, rest in peace Beatrice. It's not banned yet, but like, I wish I could run it in this deck. Beatrice would go so hard in this deck. I've tested it with Malicious, and like, there's also Bestial builds that are running Beatrice with like hand loop, but like, I think that build has a worse going second than this deck, honestly. And then also Beatrice is nice, but you aren't running the Tearlaments, so like, Beatrice is only getting you so far. So these are just there. You're running Dark, you're running Lynx. This helps you link climb. It also helps you play into you know, things like Voiceless, things like Branded, which could be, depending on, you know, losing die roll could be difficult. So I think Voiceless actually for this deck is actually kind of easy. 1 Change of Heart is very good. It's just a 1 of sack. And then also, I'm just going to show you guys, because we are running a Thrust package, because I'm a Branded player, so I know how powerful Thrust is. I think that Thrust goes very hard in any deck, and it should be basically played in most side decks. So we are siding a Thrust package. I think that you need to see high impact cards with Tearlaments. You don't really have a lot of space to afford for hand traps. It's kind of like Brand in that respect. So we are siding 3 Thrust, and then a huge Thrust package of 2 evenly matched, because it's like the best board breakers in the game right now. And then we're also siding 1 Talents, because we want to be able to search off the Thrust going second. Need be 1 Lightning Storm, or no, sorry, 2 Lightning Storm, because this card's also one of the best board breakers in the game right now. And 1 Change of Heart, because we run a Link deck, so, and an Exceeds deck, so a lot of the time we can just take something and just use it better than our opponent can. and then 1 Dark Ruler to search off a thrust for a blanket negate. We are running the 3 Forbidden Droplet, so I felt like just having 1 Dark Ruler on top of the other package is just fine with the thrust. I felt like running any more is just redundant. And then 1 Feather Duster, because Feather Duster is just like the best thrust target in the game, in my opinion. Going second, it's just like always alive. It's not like Lightning Storm. You can make your opponent play into it and then search out the Feather Duster. So I think that's very important for Floodgates. And then Dimensional Barrier, because Dimensional Barrier wins your branded matchup. It also wins your Tenpai matchup and your Voiceless matchup. So I think it just is you must run. You could run at 3, but we run Thrust. So you're basically running 4 copies of it. You're probably going to get hand trapped especially against those decks, except for branded. So I think that branded matchup can be a little hard, but that's why we do run the Bestials. Something to consider maybe. And then the Droplet, we could probably maybe run 1 more Bestial in the future just to cover the branded matchup. But yeah, I think that the D-Barrier plus Thrust definitely goes hard there. We're just running really high impact cards. I did test like Nibiru in the side. Didn't like it there. Didn't like Droll. I think next format, Droll and Ogre you'll have to be running it in one way or another, just for all the FTK decks and all the decks that search. So I think for right now, this covers the deck very well and really did cover my matchups very well so far. So yeah, as the deck, I think that overall, this is the better variant between the Dragon variant. I think you guys have been seeing this deck actually been doing very well recently. This deck recently topped a few nats which is better than the Dragon variant. The Dragon variant did some stuff with the regionals in the US. I think it's pretty good, and we'll try it out on stream, but I think that the Tearlaments variant is a lot better, and you guys should try it out. Some people have told me that Pure Tear is better than this. I don't know. I think that it's still very good and has a lot of discovering to do with people, so try out the build. Let me know what you guys thought about, and let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought of the video. Leave a like down below. Check out the links down below. Thank you guys for watching. Road to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you, channel members. Check out Branded Cast, all that fun stuff. See you guys later.